Today we're going to be dealing with economics. What comes to your mind when you hear that word? Do you think it is the study of money? Is it a guide to get rich? Maybe it's a group of men in suits trying to predict what will happen to a given market or with the global economy? Well, some economists do that, but that's not the main objective of economics. Economics is the study of people and choices, okay? The study of people and choices. If we think about it in these terms, we can say that economics is each of you trying to decide whether you want to go to a public university, a private university, or maybe to go to look for a job instead. Economics is a company that is deciding whether to produce smartphones or tablets, considering what we as consumers want to buy. Economics is a government trying to decide whether to increase its spending during a global pandemic and if it is worth going into more debt. So before we go further into different concepts, I want to clarify the meaning of these two words, economy and economics. Economy is the system of trade and industries by which a country creates their wealth. Now, economics is the study of trade, industries, and money, and how they are organized. So in that sense, we can talk about a global economy, a strong or weak economy, let's say the German economy or Argentina's economy. And on the other hand, if we were talking about a woman that is studying at university, we could say she's in her third year studying economics at York University. Okay? Well, now I'm going to give you an activity. I want you to pay a look at this list of sentences and tell me which one fits better what economics is, okay? First, we have men in suits making predictions. Then we have the study of how to get rich. The third sentence says the study of people and choices. And the final one, the study of public policies. So which one is the best definition? Okay, the third one, the study of people and choices. Very good. Now I want to talk about two important assumptions that are made in economics. The first one is that people have unlimited wants but limited resources, okay? This has to do with scarcity. Do you know what scarcity is? In Spanish it is escasez. It's the lack of something, okay? And the second assumption is that everything has a cost. So, the first one, people have unlimited wants but limited resources, and the second one, everything has a cost. If these two assumptions are true, then we need a way to analyze our choices and how to get the most from our limited resources. That's exactly what economics does. Now, taking into account the ideas of benefits and costs, let's consider this example. In our country, 6,000 people die each year in traffic accidents. Do you think there is a way to stop traffic fatalities from happening? Like completely? Yes, there are some ways. What can we do? We can stop driving vehicles and force people to walk. That would stop traffic accidents. But of course, this solution is absurd because the cost outweighs the benefits. Okay? Traffic fatalities are tragic, but we do not stop them at any costs. You know that when you drive, there are risks, but you still decide to drive anyway. What I'm trying to say with this example is that individuals, businesses, and countries with their governments cannot have everything. They are forced to make decisions considering the benefits and the costs. They have to weigh them. Okay? So now I'm going to give you a new activity. I want you to think about the two main assumptions of economics and find pictures to share that are related to those assumptions. Okay, good work. Now I want you to work in pairs. Take a look again at the concept of economics, the study of people and choices, okay? And in pairs, you have to discuss the way in which you apply economics in your life. Once you have done that, still in pairs, I want you to write down the benefits and the costs from those decisions, those times in which you apply economics. Okay? So consider two of those times and write the benefits and the costs. You can make a grid or maybe write different sentences. Okay, good work. Now, as I mentioned, economics is also related to governmental decisions. The government uses economic theory to guide public policies, las políticas públicas, the measures they take to address a certain problem. So sometimes the economic theory is flawed, but many times a problem is not properly solved because the policy is wrong. Now we're going to explore another important concept, which is that of incentives. Economists use a given theory that is backed up by data and by their understanding of incentives to adjust their political policies. So incentives are a set of external motivators that explain people's choices. Let me say that again. An incentive is a set of external rather than intrinsic motivators that explain people's choices. Getting the right incentive is key, but the right incentive can be hard to figure out. Consider the example of public universities. In our country, the amount of money that is given from the state to public universities is determined by a number of factors that includes the amount of students that are enrolled, the length of the careers, the amount of square meters that the building and the green spaces occupy, among others. But in the US, in some states, there were universities that used to get money for the amount of students they enrolled. That meant that universities had financial incentives that made them focus on recruiting as many students as possible. But they didn't focus on what happened once the students were in class. So the government started making some changes and decided to reward universities for the amount of students that earned degrees, that graduated. So in some cases this incentive worked, but incentives can backfire if they are not properly designed. This is an important word, backfire. it means that something goes wrong. You wanted to do something as a solution and it ended up making the problem worse. Okay? So think about it in this way. A university that gets money for graduates may want to push students through the program without giving them a good education. Or maybe they would only want to admit students that have high grades, instead of considering other factors that make them good candidates for that university. So another example of incentives going wrong dates back to the times of the French colonial rule of Vietnam. The regime issued a bounty on rats, a bounty is a reward, to exterminate them. People had to hand in the tails of the rats and they would receive money from the government. So what ended up happening was that people, the rat catchers, started cutting the tails, but they released the rats, and the rats ended up having babies, and the population actually increased. You can see that the incentive backfired, it made things worse. So here you see how solving a problem is not always about giving more money to a cause. But incentives can certainly help to solve a problem when the incentive is right. So now I'm going to give you different activities. First, I want you to work in groups. You are going to think about a local or national problem that you think should be addressed by a public policy, and I want you to tell me what incentive you would give to solve that problem. Once you've done that, your group is going to work with another group. Each group is going to tell each other their solution to their problem, and the other group has to give feedback and tell them how their solution could possibly go wrong, how the incentive could backfire. Once you've worked on that, each group is going to design a policy recommendation. Here you can use any format that you want to use. You can hand in a written text, a video, a poster, or I don't know, an ad for a campaign. Whatever you want to do, you can be as creative as you can. But the only thing you have to consider is that, of course you have to take into account the feedback that you got from the group, and you have to describe in that policy clearly what the problem is, its scope, whether it is local or national, the primary group of people that is being affected by that problem, and the concrete steps that you need to take for that incentive to work. Okay? If you have any questions, you can ask me. That is all for now.